Hello everyone and welcome back to 3D Toolkit. I'm Dan and today we're looking at making a 3D printed box for the card game Ligretto. Ligretto is a fast-paced card game where every player has their own separate decks. There are 4 colors in the game and each deck has cards of those colors numbered 1 through 10. A pile is started by any player placing down a 1, preferably towards the middle of the table, and any player may follow up by placing the next number up in that same color. Once the game is over, all the cards in play are flipped over and sorted by the color on the back for scoring. The player with the highest score wins. Now, let's take a look at the box this game comes in. The box is relatively large for a small card game, and the solid colors and design certainly lend itself to catching the eye of someone passing through an aisle. But if we open up the box, we begin to understand the reason for this video a little bit better. The cards are meant to be stacked and stored in 2 piles, which makes it a bit of a pain having to resort the cards every time you want to play. And take a look at all this wasted space around the edges. Let's take some measurements of the cards and see if we can make something a little bit more functional. Now, using our set of digital calipers, we will measure the width of each card, which is 60 millimeters, the height of each card, which is 92 millimeters, and lastly, the depth of the deck, which is 40 millimeters. And yes, for those of you that are wondering, I did just do those measurements in metric. For those of you that are not aware, the build volumes for 3D printers are actually also in millimeters, so I'm not as crazy as that might seem. Now, let's see if we can put those measurements to work and start on our model. So, for those of you who do not have any experience in 3D modeling, the first step you're going to want to make is choosing which side of your project you're starting on. You start that process by selecting a 2-dimensional plane and then making a line drawing on that plane. We are going to start at the bottom of our box, which can just be a rectangle of any size really, and then we're going to apply the dimensions we just obtained to make the rectangle exactly the size we want it. I did a bit of a mistake recording the video you're watching now, so the second dimension should be 40 millimeters instead of 92. The next step we have to do is add tolerances to our width and depth so that our deck does not get stuck when we try to go and pull it out. Adding a little bit of extra space in either direction should be good enough for this project, but depending on what you're doing, you may need to go through a few iterations to get this just right. To add these tolerances, we're going to have another rectangle going around our first one, and then space that out an additional millimeter on either side. Then, the last rectangle we're going to add is actually the one that'll give us the thickness of the walls that will actually make up the box. There's really no correct way to make this one either. However, we at least know that we want it to be spaced out a little bit further than our first 2 rectangles. Now that we have that, it's time to make our 2D drawing into a 3D object. This process is called extruding, and just imagine that we're stacking up the drawing by itself until we get a height of the object that we actually desire. We aren't quite done with that 2D drawing though. We're going to use the distance between the last 2 or outer rectangles and bring that area upwards in order to form the walls of our box. Of course, we need a way to actually get the cards out efficiently without dumping the box over. That would kind of defeat the purpose of us making this. So let's make a circle that we can negatively extrude or use to take away part of our model to make a spot where we can grab the cards and take them out. The length of this extrusion doesn't matter, as long as it goes out far enough that we are taking away from both sides of the box. Finally, we need to make a way to make sure the cards actually stay in the box. And there are a number of ways to do this, but I'm going to go for a good old-fashioned friction fit. So we'll start this by making a rectangle on one side, Most importantly, making it big enough that this will take away material from the walls as we drag that shape out. This will allow us to make a small flat piece that will slide in here and keep all of our cards safe. One cool thing we can do to make this box feel official is to add the logo of the game on the side. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a good PNG of the logo image online, so I scrolled through some text options and found one that felt a bit fancy. All we have to do is make it the size we like it, and then we can also negatively extrude the text into the box to make our logo. Now that everything is complete for our box, let's get to printing. And there you have it. Our box is now complete. We just need to... Wait a minute. I feel like we're forgetting something. There we go. Now our box is complete. We just have to add our deck of cards, which fits about as perfectly as you could hope for. And lastly, let's try on the lid. And see how it works. And not a single card was lost that day. Thank you all very much for watching. If any of you have any ideas that you would like to see modeled, printed, or both, feel free to let me know, and I'll take a shot at it. But that's all I got for now. Take care, and I'll see you next time.